Pastor Chris is one of the pastors of Calvary Worship Center here in Vancouver, and he's very passionate about healing. But at a point in his life, he was almost taken out by illness himself, and he's here to tell the story. Pastor, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So now you are a man with many years in ministry.
Right.
You started with what total 30 years. You're here in one of the largest ministries in Canada.
Right.
But there's a point in your life where you almost succumbed to meningitis.
That's right.
What happened?
There was civil war that was taking place in a neighboring country called Rwanda. You remember the Rwandan genocide that actually climaxed in 1994. But this was way back in 1991. So in 1992, our area missionary requested me to go on a short mission trip of 1 week with him to our border with Rwanda because there was an influx of refugees into our country. We did not know that there was an outbreak of meningitis in the camp. So after we had finished our mission, we came back, and I was thinking I was just suffering from cold and general body tiredness and weakness. But it continued, so I thought it was malaria. I started treating myself. I stayed for a whole week without going to the hospital, but my condition was worsening. And by the time I went to the hospital, I waited again for 6 hours to see a doctor. By the time I was admitted, and they did what the procedure they call lumbar puncture, down my vertebral column, right into my spine, to draw the spinal fluid, which was supposed to be colorless. By this time, it was milky, it was whitish. Why? Because it was 75% full of pus cells. I was dying. Immediately after that, I went comatose. I went into a coma. And I didn't know what happened. But let nobody tell you that when we die like a dog and we are forgotten. No. I was so conscious but helpless. I was aware of what was going on, like I was sleeping, but not sleeping.
So hold on, you were in a coma as far as we were concerned, for those outside.
Yeah.
But you in the bed, you were aware of what was going on around you.
Aware but helpless. I could not participate. When I try to talk, I can't talk. When I try to move, I can't move.
But you can hear what people were saying?
I could hear and try to figure out what was going on, but I can't. I can't figure out. It's just helpless. And I thought it was only some few hours. Later on, I discovered it was for 3 days.
Let me ask you, when you think back to that moment when you could hear, what was apart from the frustration of wanting to speak and you can't speak, what was the most, for you, the most frustrating point where you thought, come on, I'm here. I'm here, don't give up.
Yes, exactly. You know, there are times when I felt as if I should inform people, but I could not. I said, God, no, you can't be serious. How can I die like this? I'm just fresh from the Bible college. I was not playing around. I was busy serving you, and I know you are the healer, and now I end up like this. So I went into this, you know, a pity party mode. And I saw, oh God, no wonder you're so unfair to Moses. He couldn't enter the promised land. God, you know, that kind of thing.
So now the Bible college you knew was coming out.
Exactly. And this was going on in my spirit. I was arguing within me. Nobody knew what was going on. I don't like people stopping these, you know, these life support machines because somebody's gone. No. People, when we die, we don't die like dogs. I was aware but helpless. I could not do anything. At that point in time, there's a word that comes floating deep within my spirit. Because he has set his love upon me, I will deliver him. Because he knows my name, he shall call upon me. I will answer him. I will honor him. And with a long life will I satisfy him. I will show him my salvation. Now, I didn't even know where this word was coming from. Later when I discovered, when I now came back to reality, it is from Psalms 91, verses 14, 15, 16, which I had memorized as a boy. It came floating in my spirit 3 times.
But let me ask you, was there anything that anyone outside did that impacted what you were going through, that fueled your strength to come back?
Yes. Then 3 times when this thought came back, I knew deep within me, I'm not going to die. Because I'm already saved. What is this long life? I'm not going to die. Then guess what happened? The next thing I hear, physically now, it was, this is a miracle. And I jerked. in the physical. I became now aware in the physical. And who was that? I looked around. He looked hazy. I could only see in black and white. I couldn't differentiate different colors. I couldn't move, but I could see him. And this was the medical consultant who was the doctor that I used to preach to. And he was my doctor. And he was the one, he looked at the results, and it was amazing. Overnight, all the lab tests that he had requested for, they were almost normal. So he looked at me, and he touched my head. He said, "Do you hear me?" I wanted to say yes, but I was paralyzed all over. I couldn't. Then he asked me, he said, "If you hear me," he touched my forehead. He said, "If you hear me, wink." And I winked. Oh, he was excited. He was on the moon.
So let's skip forward now from that point.
Yeah.
So you were supposed to be paralyzed. And how long did it take for you to be physically whole?
Amazing. That same afternoon, I propped up myself without anybody propping me this time. The following day, I felt as if I needed to pass urine. And they removed the catheter. And then they put me on a wheelchair and took me there, tried to teach me how to do it. Then the next day, guess what happened? I felt so strong, I could sit up by myself. And then they gave me some crutches, you know, to try to, first of all, with a tripod to help me stabilize and move with it. I fell several times, but I was so determined. I was like a skeleton. All the tubes that they had put, they removed it. I began to drink soup and all those kinds of things. I was gaining energy every hour. It was a supernatural divine touch. To cut a long story short, from a wheelchair, tripod stand, crutches, which I used only for 3 days. The 4th day, I was trying to walk with a walking stick. A week after that, I was discharged. Wow. 2 weeks after I was admitted, I was preaching in the church.
Wow.
So from there, I made a covenant with God. God, I know you are not only the healer, you are also a supernatural healing God. Wherever I go, I will preach it. I will lay hands on the sick. When they recover, glory be to your name. If they don't recover, that is between you and them. As for me, I know you are the healer.
It's a fascinating story, and I'm sure we can talk about it for hours and hours. Thank you so much for sharing with us on Turning Points.
It is an opportunity. Thank you so much.
Man.